So, we're talking color today. I know this is something that a lot of people feel really uncomfortable with when they first start in watercolor, the mixing of the colors. And sometimes that will lead you down a path of thinking, well, I just need to get a set that has like a million colors. But really, you can mix all the colors just by understanding the tiniest little bit about color theory. And that sounds scary, like the idea of color theory sounds scary, but it's really, really simple. And once you understand the basics, all you have to do is start playing around with it and experimenting with your own set, and you're going to see that you can make a ton of colors. So I thought the best way for us to practice this is to make our own color wheel. And we're going to do that in the practice book. You can do this on a sheet of paper or in a sketchbook or wherever you would like to do it. Or you can just watch me make a color wheel, and that works too. I have my 24 color palette, but I'm only going to use the primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. And I have a size 8 round brush. You will also want a circle to trace. This is a 5-inch circle. There is the tiniest little bit of math involved in this, just because I want each wedge of my color wheel to be the same size. So a circle and a tape measure so you can know the size of your circle, and also so that we can make sure that our wedges are all consistent. You're also going to need something with a straight edge and a pencil to trace your circle. Don't be nervous about this. We're just going to play around with the paints and make a bunch of colors, and we're also going to make a color wheel. And you're probably going to learn something, but I promise you won't even notice. Let's get started. Okay, we're going to make a color wheel. So we are going to trace our circle. I'm just going to do this in pencil. I want to make sure that I get the center of the circle. So this is a 5-inch circle, so it's going to be 2.5 inches this way and 2.5 inches this way. So that should be the center. Our color wheel is going to have 12 colors on it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my straight edge to have it, right? To do half this way, and then we're going to do half this way. And we're trying to get this as close as we can to being like pretty equal slices of pie, but it's probably going to be a little bit off just because I'm a human being. So there's that. Okay, so 5 inches. This circle is 5 inches. In order to know how small each piece needs to be, I can find the circumference of the circle. This is where the math comes in. I have already done this. To find the circumference of the circle, we just multiply the diameter of the circle by pi, which is 3.14. So 5 times 3.14 is 15.7. And then we've got 12 different slices of pie. So 15.7 divided by 12 is 1.3. So each little piece of pie needs to be about 1 1/3 inches. Now this is where it's going to be like not totally accurate because we're using a straight edge on a curved edge, and I'm sure that there's a tool to do this, but I don't have that tool. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm going to do this side. I think I need to turn this a little bit so that I can see it. Okay, so 1, and it's going to be about here, and then this one is going to be about here. Okay, that seems pretty good. So now we just use our straight edge and we come back through the center point. There's our color wheel. So the next thing we're gonna do is paint it. And it's like I said, we're just using our 3 primary colors. So this is going back to elementary school art, where we learned the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Now, there is some discussion about whether or not the traditional red, blue, and yellow are actually the best primaries to use, or if magenta, cyan, and yellow are actually truer primaries. I'm not going to get into all of that. But for our purposes, we're going to go with our ultramarine blue, which is the most primary blue. Let me flip this around. We're going to make a bigger puddle. So here's our ultramarine blue, which is our primary blue. And then I'm going to make another puddle, and I do not want to cross-contaminate my colors. So let's take that out. Make sure you wash your brush really well when you do this so that you don't cross-contaminate your colors. And then I'm going to use my red, which is a primary red. And let's get the yellow. So this is lemon yellow that I'm using. So we're gonna color in 3 of our wheels. So we're gonna pick 3. So I've already got the yellow on my brush. I'm gonna put my yellow in this wheel right here. So I'm just gonna fill it in. I'm going to speed up some of the coloring in of the color wheel just because I feel like this is going to be really long. But if you have different colors, just remember that your wheel might look slightly different, but it will still work. So there's our yellow. Now I'm going to go 3 chunks, 3 wedges over, and I'm going to do red. I gotta make sure I rinse my brush really well. I don't want any of that yellow in there. And we're gonna do red in this one. Okay, there's red. Now we do the same thing with blue. Again, going 3 over, 1, 2, 3, and then it would be this one. We should have 3 empty spaces between each color. Okay, there are our 3 primary colors. So I'm thinking maybe for, I don't know, future purposes, it might be helpful for you guys to keep track of what is what over on the other page. So I could have done this while I was mixing up the colors, but I didn't think about it. Let's go ahead and just do some circles, because of course it's going to be circles, so that we can label our colors on this page. Doesn't have to be perfect, does not have to be a perfect circle. And you could do squares or rectangles or whatever shape you like the best, you could totally do that. There's the yellow. Make it a little bigger. And the blue. Let's just label these primary colors. So now we remember. I think we probably already knew that, but we're going to get more challenging as we go. So primary colors, we got that. Time to move on to the secondary colors. For the secondary colors, we're going to mix together 2 primary colors. So to make orange, we're going to mix together red and yellow. And the goal here is to mix equal parts of the primaries to make the secondary colors. Now, this is challenging in watercolor because you can't just measure it. You can't do like a specified amount. You have to kind of eyeball it. So it may take a few tries. I'm gonna do my best. So I've got my red over here, and now I'm gonna dip into my yellow. So these are the same red and yellows that we were using over here. Let's get our yellow over here. We're gonna mix them together to get orange. If you're not sure if this feels like the right amount, you can get a little tester and say, yeah, that feels like orange to me. So the orange is going to go in this middle slice. It's going to go in between the two primaries, in the middle space between the two primaries. And that is what we're going to do for all of these. So we're just going to fill this in just like we did with our primary colors. And let's go ahead and go over to our page over here, and let's just do a spot for our secondary colors. So this is orange. So this is a secondary color made by mixing yellow and red. Now we're going to mix up green by mixing our primary blue, which was our ultramarine blue in this set, with some of our yellow. So remember, we got to clean off those brushes really well. We're trying to do equal amounts to get that really nice green color, and we can test it just like we did. That seems like a very neutral primary green. So I'm going to go back to my color wheel. I'm going to go back to that spot that's in between yellow and blue, and I'm just going to fill that in. And we'll come back over here and we'll do a circle for green. Our final secondary color is purple, which we are going to make by mixing blue, that same ultramarine blue, with an equal amount of red. I am going to tell you, making purple is probably the toughest one to get equal amounts. So I can tell right now I've gotten more red in there than blue, and I'm going to have to add some more. Purple is also the reason that a lot of people like using the CMYK, the cyan and magenta, instead of ultramarine and red, because you can get a nicer purple if you use cyan and magenta. This feels like, that feels like a pretty good purple to me. Let's go ahead and we're going to swatch this one. I'm going to turn my book just because it's going to make it easier. This one's going to go in between the blue and the red. And we'll add purple over here. If it's not dark enough, just go back to the pan and add a little bit more paint. So these are the secondary colors. Okay, so at this point, we're going to mix up our tertiary colors. So tertiary colors are made by mixing the two colors that are on either side of this wedge. So we're going to mix orange and red together, and we're going to get a red-orange. So going back to our orange that we mixed up here, we're going to add a little bit more red into this orange. I'm going to go with this, with my red and my orange mixed together to give me a reddish orange. Also, if we put it down, this is not very dark. If we put it down and we feel like it's wrong, we can adjust by glazing over the top of it with whatever color we feel is missing. think I need to just add a little bit more in to darken it up a little bit. Okay, so there's our red orange. So red orange is a tertiary color. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add that over here. And we'll do another blob. Okay, the next one to do is the orange with the yellow to make a yellow orange, which is gonna go in the middle here. So we're gonna have to mix up another orange because we've put a bunch of red into our orange. So we're gonna mix some yellow in with our red again to get back to our orange color. And then we're gonna add in more yellow. So this is gonna give us that yellow orange. So it's orange mixed with yellow to give us yellow orange. And since we made the orange by mixing yellow and red, basically what we're doing is we're just doing a higher concentration of yellow into that yellow and red mixture to get yellow orange. So then this one is going to go here in this spot in between orange and yellow. And let's do a blob. Okay, our color wheel is coming along very nicely. The next color we want to mix up is a yellow green. We've got our green mixed already here. We haven't mixed anything else into that, so we can just add some yellow into this green. And that's going to go right here in between these two. And we'll do our blob. Okay, the next color is going to be blue-green. Since we already mixed up our green, we have to mix up a new green. So I've got my blue puddle here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this spot. And so we can mix up green again by mixing blue with yellow. If we just go a little heavier on the blue than on the green, we get this blue-green color. And that's going to go right into this spot. Go back here and we'll make another blob. The next spot we're going to do is blue purple, or sometimes it's called blue violet, depending on what you're looking at. So we can use this purple that we already mixed up, and we can just add some more blue into that. If it goes too blue, we're going to add a little bit more red, because we used red to make our purple, right? We used blue and red to make our purple. So if it goes a little too blue, you just grab a little bit more red. So this is going to go right here in between these two. I think once we got it saturated, it's pretty good. It maybe could have had a little bit more blue in it, but it is what it is. It is what it is at this point. Pretty good. It's really tough with the tertiary colors to get the exact right ratio, but we did all right. Okay, last one is going to be the red violet or the red purple, and I think we've got to mix this one from scratch because I don't think we really have I don't think we really have purple left over that we can use. So it was blue and red to make the purple. And this is actually probably pretty close to what we want because it's got way more red in it, and we're going, it's supposed to be a red violet, so it should be heavier on the red than on the blue. It's almost like a plum color. Let's go ahead and fill that one in. And let's do our circle over here. Let's let this dry and then we'll come back and label it. All right, now that it's dry, we can go ahead and label it. So this is going to be red. This one is red orange. Orange. Yellow orange. Yellow. Yellow green. Green. Blue green. Blue. Should we call this violet or purple? I think blue violet. Violet. And red violet. And then over here, we're going to call these are our tertiary, T-E-R-T-I-A-R-Y. Is that right? Yes, colors. So now the key to using the color wheel is just understanding how the colors play together. So you've heard me talk about complementary colors before, and complementary colors are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So red and green are complementary colors. Blue and orange are complements, and yellow and violet or yellow and purple are complements. Also, though, yellow green and red violet are complements. Red orange and blue green are complements, and yellow orange and blue violet are complements. Okay, so I want to show you sort of what happens when you start mixing complements. And you could do this with me or you can just watch. It is totally up to you, but I have the primary colors and the secondary colors here. So if we take some red, and we mix in some of our green from over here, you're going to see that it starts to darken the red. It starts to make the red a little bit earthier. I'm just going to put some up here. We'll do a circle up here too. So this is when you mix red with green, but you're going heavier on the red than on the green. Now, if we take a little bit of red and we mix that into our green up here, where we've got way more green than red, we end up with this sort of toned down olivey green color. If we can try to get a sort of equal mix of red and green, we get a very neutral brown color. Where am I going to put this? We'll do it, I guess we'll do it down here. So equal parts red and green is going to give us this brown. That is, this one is red plus green gives us this brown color. Now, if we take our blue and we add in some orange, we get this sort of blue blue-gray color. And if we take a little bit of blue and we mix that into our orange, so more orange than blue, we end up with this muted, toned down orange. We'll see if we can get a sort of equal mix, an equal mix of the two. And that's going to give us our neutral. It's almost like a stony, color. So here's another neutral that we've made, another brown gray color, by mixing equal parts blue and orange. Okay, now if we add, well, our purple's already going in there. If we add some purple into our yellow, it's going to give us this more muted yellow color. And if we mix yellow into the purple is going to go almost brown. Again, I think this is why some people prefer the cyan and magenta, because it's tough. It's tough with the purples. Now, if we get a sort of equal mix of the two, it gives us this very earthy brown color. This is yellow and purple. When we look at our complements going around our color wheel, we can see how muted they get. You can also mix some neutrals just with the primaries, not without doing complements, but just doing primaries. Let's take our blue and let's add red. And just a touch of yellow. And here we are with a different brown. That's all the primaries. Now, if we want to make this grayer or blacker, we can add some more blue to it. And this is giving us gray. And then if we put a little bit of red back in, it's gone to this really almost deep purple. And then a touch of yellow, because I'm just doing complements, right? It went purple, so I added yellow. Now we've gotten to this almost black color. So all of these colors are being made with combinations of the primaries, right? They're all being made with combinations of the primaries. These two, we didn't mix up any secondary colors at all. We just went with the basic primaries. But really, the secondaries are made from the primaries, so it's all about understanding the relationship. So like, in order to go from this dark brown, which had a lot of red in it, we messed around with it and we used a combination of blue and yellow, which is green, right? So that makes sense because the complement of red is green. In order to tone that down, it's really a dance between the relationships on the color wheel. And the better you understand the color wheel, the more easily you can manipulate the colors to make the colors that you're looking for. The last thing I want to talk about are color schemes and how you can use the color wheel to come up with color schemes. The first one is super easy. It's monochrome. A monochrome color scheme is just going to use one color, and then it uses different shades and tints and values of that color to get an image to come to life. So monochrome is one color. You can also do color schemes that are complementary color schemes. So that's going to be where your painting includes blue and orange, or yellow and purple, or green and red. And by doing complementary color schemes, you're going to be able to create a lot of contrast in your painting. A split complementary color scheme takes one color and then uses the two colors that are opposite its complement. So it would be yellow and red violet and blue violet. So you would get these three colors together in a color scheme. Or let's say you chose blue green as the main color. The color opposite blue green is red orange. So in a split complementary color scheme, you'd be choosing red and orange to go with your blue green. This is also going to create contrast in your painting, but it's going to soften that contrast so that it's not so stark. Okay, the next one is an analogous color scheme, and basically that just means you're going to take three colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel, and that's your color scheme. That's going to create a really cohesive look to your painting. So if you are taking blue green, green, and yellow green, and you're combining these three colors in your color palette, you're going to end up with a really calming effect. I felt like this video was getting a little bit long and maybe a little tedious, and I didn't know if we wanted to take the time to mix up all the tertiary colors again to do tertiary complements to each other, but that's something that would definitely be a good activity for you to do on your own. Go ahead and mix up more yellow green and more red violet and do the complements. This one with more red violet, this one with more yellow green, and then see what kind of neutral you can create by combining them in equal amounts. So if there's homework, I guess that's it. That's the homework. Did this help? Let me know. Did this help you understand color mixing, color theory at all? Obviously, there's way more we could do with it, but I feel like this is a good foundation and it gives you something to work with. So I hope you found it helpful. If nothing else, it's just pretty. It's just a pretty sketchbook page. Let me know what questions you have. We can always build on what we started here. Bye.